a random in the audience and they say, "Hey, what is the Mighty Mai? What is a Mighty Mai?" And perhaps that's up to you to decide, listener at home. Yeah, it's been a while.
So what up, Token Smart? I take the occasion to say hi to the team and ask how you've been doing this week, how the squad is going, what's up. Shout out to Easy and Lindsay and Carolina, Dragonate in the house, Demon Tiger, and Ohm. Axie.
A big reunion going on in here.
Yeah.
It's a big fucking party in here. Big stuff. That's good stuff, man. That's all I know. I just I'm about to be regained with health any second now, guys. My mana is low, but my mana is about to be recovered with one quick swift sip of my new espresso that I am doing right this second. Vax God, what's Vax? I'm so glad you asked. No, I'm so, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I won't bear anybody my rants tonight. I know you guys are. Sometimes if you're in the mood, you can enjoy the crazy scribbles of a mind like mine. But sometimes it's just easy to just sit back and relax and enjoy a little old, casual convo between old Mighty and old Mai. But when you but when you complicate it so much sometimes, that's whenever it gets dangerous. Mask on to fight, that guy gets it. I don't even know why I'm here. Listen, nobody knows why they're here. But I'll tell you what, if you're here to fucking learn something, well, then you got to tune into a different show. Or you got to be very, very patient. Very, very patient. Incredible patience. Patience rewards here. I don't know when, but that's for you to find out and for me to profit off of. Into that, I put cinnamon on top of my espresso and we move forward.
Smells great.
It smells great.
The cinnamon on top of the coffee.
I will say, if you've never put cinnamon on top of an espresso, there's something that's a great combo. It's a great combo. Because I mean, you don't want too much flavor. You know what I mean? Unless you're like big into the flavors and shit. But that's personally not necessarily my big thing. I'm big into the espresso. I just want all the crack I can get. Just need to get all juiced up, and now I'm ready to ride. Sorry.
I think we can
Oh,
start with the good news. I have a good news.
that's huge. I was just about to say we could consider that the intro, and hit us with it.
So I don't know if you've seen, I tweeted last night about it, but my latest two singles that were minted on OpenSea are released. Because to resume the story, they got delisted a few months ago already, and it was some kind of a troubleshooting situation to get them back listed on OpenSea, and now they are since last night. So it's a big victory, even though that
Oh,
still
yeah.
leave you with a weird feeling. But I'm at least glad they're back.
That's amazing. So basically, they finally appealed. They approved the appeal then?
Your volume mic is very low.
Oh, is it better now? How's that?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. I was gonna say, did they approve the appeal? Is that like is that the process?
Well, I don't have a lot of details. Basically, what happened is that I wrote them 2 long letters. Basically, one to it was to explain what I thought the situation was, and a second one, after we talked about it on the MightyMai a few weeks ago, when I realized that it may be the name of the collection, stuff like that, and a few months after, like maybe 3 weeks ago, I had a notification from OpenSea saying that my two emails have been combined together, in the support website. But no answer. Just someone came by, saw that there was a relationship between those two, combined it into one, and continued their journey, So I was like, okay, something is happening. So I'm not desperate. And 3 weeks after, which was last night, I received another notification saying simply, "Hello, these items has been released," um, and that's pretty much it. Like, yeah, no. Last week,
No,
someone
no explanation.
no explanation. Just last week, I had another notification asking me for if I had the URL of the collection that's been delisted, which I had not because it disappeared, so I didn't know what the URL was. So I simply sent back. I still had the URL of the two assets in it, so I sent them back, and they answered me, "Yeah, last night these two items has been restored."
Well, that's good news.
But no explanation,
I
no,
think,
really. I don't know why they delisted it in the first place.
yeah, and I feel that would be my only thing is like, why not give you somewhat of an answer for that? Because not only is that helpful for you, but then you can, come on this podcast and give everybody else the reasons as to why they took, your NFT down, which
Mhm.
is just not something
But
that
I think
should be the case.
maybe that confirms, how busy they might be right now, because these notifications a month ago saying that my two emails has been, just the fact that someone comes by, um, see the first time and don't have the time to figure it out, so it just compiles the two emails and come back 1 month after. It just says like maybe it is as the delisting, the same as the troubleshooting. They don't had much time to understand themselves what's going on, and so the items might have been delisted by mistake, and that's maybe what they implies by no giving explanation. Basically, just saying, okay, you're right, we released them. We don't ask for more, steps. And so that might be, to really highlight the fact that they are, you know, uh, they can't keep up with time. They are busy.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I mean, hey, at least it was resolved. We can move forward now, which is great.
Yes,
So
but
hey, shout out to OpenSea for doing their job.
yeah,
That's all we expect. We just want everybody to just do their job. Even kinda though, kinda isn't as bad as not at all. Um,
no, I'm happy that they resolved the case, without more troubles or anything. So, as I said, it kind of leaves you with a certain feeling about using it. But I mean, it wouldn't have maybe be the same problem as well if I minted, the assets on another platform. So I don't know. That's the point about not really knowing why it got delisted in the first place. But well, at least we have some learnings out of it.
yeah. That guy drew you something, Mighty.
That's what I'm reading.
I want to see what he drew you. Because I certainly know he wasn't talking about me when he said you sound smart. So, oh, you guys got a kick out of that one, huh? That's what we get a kick out nowadays. It's a trap. I wouldn't. Hey, if this is a trap, I'm ready to see the trap. Send it, yeah, guy. Christ.
You can send it.
Lynn says, "Wow," just appalled at the impatience of the hosts.
But just before coming to the show, I was listening to the last Snoop Dogg track about Sandbox. I don't know if you've seen that coming, but actually it
Wait,
is.
what?
Just before coming at the show, I was listening to the last Snoop Dogg track, which is all about Sandbox. And
He made a song. He made a song about Sandbox.
if that's not Sandbox advertising, I don't know what it is. But
Well, that's what I'm asking. So, like,
yeah,
just so I can like clarify, he made a song. I mean, you might just have to play it at this point. I haven't listened to it, nor do I know exactly what you're talking about, but I'm super curious.
yeah, it just dropped yesterday, and it actually isn't intended to look like it is an official Sandbox advertisement, but it's all about it. But which is pretty cool is that it actually is a good Snoop Dogg track, best than I've
Oh,
heard in
well,
a minute. So
I'll have to be up. All right. After that, that's a pretty high. That's a
yeah,
because like
yeah, yeah.
the subject matter doesn't necessarily make me feel like this song is gonna slap. But let's give it a razz. Let's give it a razzle and dazzle.
Actually, it's not bad, but there's a music video, and it's the whole point as well of the the release is that the music video is made out of Sandbox as well, and so there's a big deal about it. If I'm looking if I can share the screen here.
Here we go.
But yeah,
This is big.
this is it. You can click the screen to see the music
Ready.
video. So we do things in family here. We watch music video together. And
Please.
so this is the last
Please.
Snoop Dogg released yesterday.
Yo, Nick.
Yo,
So, how much is my sandbox worth right now?
your sand token?
Yeah, what's
Just
my?
your token?
Yeah.
4.8,
What did it start off at?
$300,000.
So it's at 4.8 million
Yeah.
cash. Hey, yo, hit boy.
Can we get a pause real quick?
Yeah.
We might have to make this a reaction video. Because I mean, I'm not. I'm down
just
to
the
just.
intro.
Should we?
Hey boy, how much?
Should we
my
rip through
sand
it?
is
Yeah,
worth?
because off rip, it's not looking good for Snoop here. But all right, let's just let it ride. Let's let it ride. A little more. My bad.
Okay.
I think it's time for another one. Yeah. I'm Snoop Dogg, in my rhyme, yeah, but rhymes are fresh. I'm Snoop Dogg, in my rhyme, yeah, but rhymes are fresh. Walking through the sandbox with flip-flops on. This reminds me of a hip-hop song. Right on. No Instagrams, no TikToks on. You run up on a dog, you get bip-bopped on. Back in the days, yeah, they took my songs. But if I get back, then I can live like that. See, we don't cry over spilled milk. I'm Snoop Dogg, baby, and I'm smooth as silk. Every beat I rapped on, that bitch was killed. Every brim I wore, that hoe was chill. I'm standing tall like I'm walking on stilts. Aftermath on blast from the house I built. And that's east to the west, right? The niggas on my team, they say they living their best life. A drug dealer turned CEO, and I'ma show you how to get this dope. Living what I call the way I did it. Doing it my way, that's how I get it. Rapping the east side, Long Beach City. Keeping it gangsta, it's all I know. No, we gon' throw our setup, and we gon' get our bread up. While I roll my weed up in my sandbox with my feet up. we keep blowing trees. All these emergencies, $100 million deals with this cryptocurrency. Spit a hit a did a get a man, I got a lot of moves. Used to spend a lot of bread on a whole lot of shoes. Fools learn fast, so I must be the fastest. Took all my classes, learned it by the masters, surpassed all the masters. Now I'm the master. Last thing out there is my doggy style master. Yeah, I got a habit like a bad habit. Cause doggy style nigga was a motherfucking classic. Am I lying? No, you're not. It was hot. So motherfucker, give me what you got. Now we can get off into some gangster shit. We can laugh, toast, or blast. Or you can be a gentleman and handle this shit like you got some class. Living what I call the way I did it. Doing it my way, that's how I get it. Rapping the east side, Long Beach City. Keeping it gangsta, it's all I know. No, we gon' throw our setup, and we gon' get our bread up. While I roll my weed up in my sandbox with my feet up. I'm Snoop Dogg, dog, in my rhyme, yeah, but rhymes are fresh. I'm Snoop Dogg, in my rhyme, yeah, but rhymes are fresh. Hit boy,
Okay.
Snoop Dogg, dog.
Yeah.
Well, that's Snoop Dogg, and his rhymes are fresh. That it is self-proclaimed there. Um, yeah, look, I think the intro is obviously like like that would maybe be funny if like you didn't know like what you're doing and like you just randomly made all this money and like you weren't Snoop Dogg, but when Snoop Dogg says it, it's like it just really looks bad. It makes crypto look bad as a whole too, I think, and I think it's just a big. But then again, like that's the whole vibe of the main marketing ploy to like the majority of people who aren't in crypto is like, oh, join crypto, you'll make all this money, and it's like, yeah, it's a terrible selling point to me. But I mean,
Hmm.
Snoop has obviously infiltrated Web3 successfully, but I don't know if it's successfully in a way that should be showcased. And when I say successfully, I just simply mean that he's onboarded to a majority of the platforms that we see. I don't know if rightfully so is the answer, that's for sure. But I think, yeah, I mean, my thoughts on the video and the song are, I mean, the song is super average, dude. Snoop Dogg is super average. I feel like he's never really, he hasn't done anything of creative interest to me in a very long time. And I could see why you would like, be like, it's like not a bad Snoop Dogg song. I mean, like, sure, like the beat's okay. And, but it's so typical. Like everything that he was saying was just so typical. And I kind of feel like that's like almost what he's doing on purpose because he just knows he can just exploit everybody who's like a Snoop Dogg fan right now. Um, and just kind of curious about crypto, which is what's bad. So, yeah, what I just saw there, but I mean, it's very minimal. I really wouldn't have any thoughts about that if I saw it otherwise. I would just see it as just another move that somebody like Snoop would do. Like that's not surprising to me at all. And the video is like pretty bad too, not to mention, but
Yeah, I see what you mean, but at the same time, looking at it, I'm thinking like I wish I can have that good visuals shooting something into CryptoVoxels, for example. So that's also a statement, a visual statement about the space and what you can do with the games, and that's not only concern Snoop Dogg, but also it's a statement from Sandbox, kind of that we can make it look that good, at least to the average audience. And I agree with you that this is totally an average Snoop Dogg track. It's just another candy that he leaves behind him because he can do some everyday easily with his voice and all the culture he keeps. He just has to surf at this point. He doesn't need to innovate or anything. Like it's the whole point of this production seems to I agree with you, seems to reside in the fact that it is a move more than it is a music release or anything, or even a music video release. It's more the right move at the right time to engage an audience that are already fan of Snoop Dogg into an easy looking crypto world that he's 200% flexing with this particular production, like from the message in the beginning to what he says and how it looks and how it sounds. Like it's 200% only flexing attitude, which is
By the
cool
way,
from Snoop Dogg because I mean, who can flex more than him naturally? But
I
yeah,
if you do the math too, 300K to 4.8 million, that's like that's like over a 10x, and I'm a little bit I'm just like, when would he have bought I'm assuming that's I'm assuming that's like what he was like getting at, is that he bought sand early? Is that like what it was, where it was coming from?
I guess I mean, that's what he say. That's what this
And what
says.
about, but like, and what about that has to do anything with like sandbox or anything? That's what I mean. It's just such a bad look. It's like it's almost as if they want it to be a bad look. Have you ever thought about that? Is there a possibility that they're utilizing all of these celebrities to endorse all of these crypto projects for a way to almost distract from good ideas or good ways of thinking about crypto, and then like showcasing these very average or lame mindsets that are overall not going to allow most people to like
Yeah,
innovate
but
with
to
this technology? Do you think that there's a possibility of that?
absolutely. I mean, that is, I believe, to me, the core battle. And that's exactly what I'm trying to write on for the exhibition, trying to put words on that very specific phenomenon. But yeah, the battle between the perception for the mainstream adoption, but not in terms of how the technology is known, but how it is well used as it can be intended to be at the first place. And he's doing the perfect move towards, I would say, a brainwashed audience, pretty much, like people that
You
are
know it.
not going to make it.
Yeah, yeah, sorry, I wanted to let you finish that thought. I don't know if you did, but I was just about to like kind of like segue, but not really segue, just like say on top of what we're talking about right now. I feel like somewhat, if you look back in our history of like what we've talked about on this show, I feel like a lot of how we come at looking at some of these things are always from a perspective of being able to like it's almost as if we're coming at these I don't know what you would call it. It's not an article. I don't know what that would be. Just like news. I don't know. Point is, just like these little things that are going on in the space, and it feels like we're almost trying to like debunk them. It feels like in the long term too,
Yeah,
we might end up proving to be correct about some of these things that are, I mean, looked at as bad and potentially will maybe lead to bad things as well. But because I don't know anything about the legality or where they're gonna go with things, but, like, I don't know if that would be a good look if at the beginning of, your music video for this metaverse, you're saying at the beginning of it, "Oh, how's my sand doing?" And then, the next thing you do is, yeah, and the next thing you do is, oh, sorry, I was just reading that. But yeah, and I don't know, it just looks like it looks like a very obvious, like you said, a very obvious ad or a very obvious like shill of this token, which I don't know if is gonna
mhm.
be legal in some respects. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. But you could
The
have
hive
kept the
act.
intro and do a track about
Oh, sorry,
something
not his
totally
token. Yeah,
random.
no, my bad. Good point. Good correction there. Not his token, but yeah, just I mean, clearly one that he is heavily endorsed by. And yeah, hello to don't know how to read that name. We're gonna call you Yep for short.
But yeah, I agree with what Easy said. That's clearly a big signal for everyone, and however we interpret it. But I agree with what your hypothesis was. That's what I see, knowing the history of the music industry and how they project, how the traditional industry is projecting itself into the NFT, um, the Web3 world. And so, yeah, that I'm not surprised to see uh, this track or this music video. I find it like
Yeah,
perfect for what
yeah,
it's targeted to, but at the same time,
right.
I don't feel like being on board or anything. Looking at it, from the perspective we are looking at things from. And yeah, no, I would categorize it into the industry's move to try to win over the narrative, but not in the right
Yeah,
way, in a way that's not
yeah.
going to teach artists how to free themselves from
Right, right. I was just about to say, I think the brunt of what we're even, like, talking about here is, like, not news to us, but I think it just reiterates this common theme that we see with, like, the bigger named artists. They just simply don't innovate.
actually I
They're
have
not doing it.
a great other
Go ahead.
example I've seen this week, which is coming from One Off, the platform produced by Quincy Jones, and back by Quincy Jones, sorry. And so this week they been doing a drop. So I was curious, since their launch, now that they are, starting to roll and be more comfortable, what would be their kind of drop today. So I was curious and I went to see. And curiously enough, it was about a French production, a collaboration between an international and French well-known producer. But basically, what the drop was about, it was recycling a Web2 track that made several billions views on the internet and were really like a buzz track, and take it and convert it into a Web3 environment with NFTs, with visuals, NFTs type stuff on top of it. Um, sorry how to say this, but gold, silver, platinum type of NFTs, stuff like that. And the whole point of it was trying to sell a remix competition and a call with the artist, like a one-on-one discussion, stuff like that. But really based on the success of a Web2 native Web2 track, because the first the original track was really an internet buzz, as you could call it, where it was like an authentic music session of 12 minutes in the Red Bull studios at the time. And I can play the track because I'm sure maybe you know it. You've heard of it because after, it was an unexpected internet buzz that started from a genuine studio session organized at the Red Bull Studios, that made over 400 million views on YouTube at the time. And so after that, the music industry tried to, take that phenomenon and make it into a 3-minute hit record. So they produced a music video, they made a 3-minute version, they blasted on the radio all over the world, and they pushed its natural organic success into a worldwide success, really pushed by the industry. And so years after that, it was 4 years ago, and today, One Off takes this track and, just, it's as if they were typing on Google how to convert a Web2 track into a Web3 track. And that's exactly what they did with this drop this week. So here's an extract of the track if you know it.
Definitely heard it.
So I'm trying to find when he sings.
Just hit my heart, oh. Da-da. Full force and she got me like da-da. I be like da-da. Baby, da-da. Why you so fine?
Do you know this song?
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
course.
so it's this song that One Off just dropped this week, converting the Web2
Oh, wow.
success into a Web3 successful drop.
Okay. So and they've done the drop already?
Yeah, I can drop the link.
How has it done?
Pretty well. It's not totally sold out, I think, but it's been Oh, it's on the main page. Wait. Yeah, here.
My name's Yep. You get it. Yep gets it. Love it. Yep. By the way, I appreciate that you changed your nickname. It's incredible. So you help me? I mean, we'll leave some time at the end, and we'll go deep on what it is that you want to try, and we'll try and give some advice or thoughts. There's no real advice here, but I think you could pull it off. I think you could pull it off.
So one interesting thing when I was looking at the drop is that the prices aren't so high. So it's pretty accessible towards the audience, the original audience of the song. So it's between $5 to $400, and it goes to 25, 200, and yeah, 400. So it's pretty accessible to, the target I think One-Off is trying to, market towards.
What's the what blockchain are they on?
Tezos.
Interesting. And then what's the amount for this song? How many?
The price or the supply?
Both. But well, yeah, both. More supply, but yeah, both.
Yeah. You have 500 editions at $5. Two different 250 editions at $25, and three different 150 editions at 200.
Okay. It's interesting. It's an interesting model. I like it. What are the benefits? Like, is there anything that comes with it? Is it just the collectible, so to speak, or is there some sort of extra juice with it?
Yes, there is actually some of the tokens you can access remix contests. So they send you the stamps when you collect it, and you are granted to participate in the remix contest. So they will promote the remixes, NFTs, stuff like that. There's other type of perks which makes me kind of be like not reacting good. There's one that says you will have the track feedback from Masego, who is the singer. So when you give that type of perks into NFT sale, to me that's kind of sketchy. Like how this is. We are humans. We can talk. There's not this big illusion wall between all of us, and so impressing you like, wow, you're gonna have the feedback from the singer. This is something that worth so much. You see what I mean? Like I'm explaining it very bad, but it just feels fishy. But you also have
Right.
concert ticket to a future show with no further details of what the future show will be. Sorry. But you also have a signed saxophone from the singer and a custom 1-on-1.
Okay. And how much is that one going for?
400.
$400?
And there is one in auction. Yeah, that went at $300 and $100. Well, the auction is still going on.
Wait, a signed saxophone from
Yeah,
the from the
from this
guy, and it's only going for 300 right now?
3,100.
Oh, 3,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
my bad.
I mean, that's still, in Web3 terms, that's still relatively low.
Yeah.
If it's a one of one, right? Considering if that's the saxophone this guy played this very famous riff on.
I believe that's something like that they are trying to sell. So yeah, you're right in terms of Web3, but even the drop sounded pretty accessible to me, which isn't a bad thing. That's the type of things we wanted to see in the future. But I agree with the about the performance of the one-on-one here and all the perks that it brings and all the success that the songs have, etc. That kind of says that that's not what the Web3 money wants.
I guess that is what it says. I just think that there's just a strange disconnect. Like there's just weird pockets of space that are very tapped in, and then somehow it's like a black hole separating, this space from the rest of the world. Sometimes that's how it feels because I'm just so blown away at how there's a disconnect sometimes. But even within our space, you know what I mean? Like there's like different spaces within the space, and I just can't really seem to understand that. But because it just seems like and I know that it's not fully like that, but I don't know, because that feels like it is like a whole other market, like, with whole other principles. Because that seems like a pretty popular guy that would be dropping, and if let's say he dropped that one of that song, with a signed saxophone and all these other perks on something like catalog, I would imagine it would go for way more than that, you know?
Yeah, I see what you mean, and yeah, that raises the question because obviously one off is coming. We know that it is coming straight from the heart of the industry. I mean, that's backed by Quincy Jones and is made to onboard his entourage, basically. So they're looking for highly, I don't know the word, but creating NFTs for the celebrities and a catalog that is already, that has a fan base, basically a massive fan base.
Right. Right. I think the problem why Web3 and already existing fan bases don't work is because already existing fan bases and Web3 fan bases are, I think, totally different dynamics. And I mean, I don't think this
Yeah.
is a revelatory thought here, but I think like that's just like in the short term, like during this conversation, I just felt like maybe we could talk about it. Like I think like the dynamic difference between those two things are significantly different, and I just
Yes.
think that they're just way different groups of people with different types of interests because your web 2 audience who is your web 2 audience, I don't think wants to be a web 3 type of participant, but I also think a web 3 type of participant doesn't necessarily want to be a web 2 type of participant. They want to be that web 3. And once again, these terms web 2, web 3, it's like these are just the terms that we can make sense of the language and what we're talking about here. But really, it's like eventually these will all bleed together. It's just upgraded technology and upgraded kind of value flow between community and creator. So I feel like that's why a lot of these, you know, celebrities don't do it is because it would be so frictional because their entire fan bases are built upon completely different metrics and completely different systems of interest and connection. And I think it's just like a whole new it is like kind of a whole new thing, but I think the more that artists build primarily for the technology and the purpose of what Web3 is like meant to do for an artist in their community, the more that that's like directly attacked and ignoring the fact that there's going to be this massive friction. I think that's probably what where most artists who already have existing fan bases will be most successful because I think ultimately if done correctly, there's no reason why you wouldn't want to implement Web3 sort of, integrations into your community, your creations. So, I feel like it's just, I mean, I'm saying, like, just, like, more or less just observations. I don't know. I don't do you have any thoughts on these on these types of I don't know, this point?
Yeah. I mean, stepping back and really looking at the drop in the big picture at this particular type of drop, it really says to me from them that they are trying to build a drop in a way that looks like, hey, look how shiny we are, how what we brings here is more shiny that whoever a crypto artist, that is unknown, or whoever, or whatever in the world, like, this is the most shiny thing you should be paying attention to, and we are, the ones that presents it, or whatever, blah blah. But it's a very bad look in that sense, where it sounds like a desperate move where they want to do drops, but they don't have native crypto artists or artists willing to participate in these drops. So they are looking at the back catalog and look at what worked before and what they can, make hot again by to try to benefit off of that Web3 money. And yeah, that says a lot. First, about what their mindset is, or is going to be in
Well,
the era where Instagram is thinking of NFTs, and Spotify too, and so it's coming. But also on the fact that they don't have necessarily that much artists, beyond Snoop Dogg or maybe Nas, or one or two others that are actively participating in that space, and that they can, blow minds with. So they got to find an alternative, because they invested all this money creating these platforms and stuff like that, and so they have to make it look like a success. But this particular drop really makes me think, like, we found the most shiny thing out of Web 2 that we could find, and what more can we do? And if that doesn't sell so well, that's not a good sign for us to continue,
well,
doing so.
well, see, that's exactly like what I'm saying. Is I feel like those are like that's the whole problem. Is I think that Web 2 success doesn't necessarily mean Web 3 success, in the sense like, oh, this is a viral. That's like a very, very viral video. Like that particular track, like the original, that video, like the loop, like the song, like there was all kinds of TikTok versions of it. I think like the song definitely like went huge in the Web 2 ecosystem. Where and how it has value in Web 3 is a totally different. It's like, once again, it's just a totally different game. And yeah, I totally agree with, like, the perspective, like that Natalie said above, like fans versus Web3 community. It's like it's just a totally different game. And I think that's really hard, I think, to reroute for most artists, whether independent or not, if you haven't been kind of like dabbling within the scene. And even still, even when you dabble, you still need to kind of like learn from just doing things, and then seeing like what exactly why those are the principles that make something a community, versus these are just people that are just like interested in
Yeah.
what you do, right?
And
So
when I think about it, when I think of all the artists I've met in the space, myself included, and you as well, like, it's kind of, we all started from the ground up, where personally,
yeah.
that's what I did. I erased everything from my previous life, artistic life, and I created something totally new. That's what you did as well, and that's what most of the best, innovators and pioneers in the space I know have made the choice to do. Basically, is to create something from zero, and go along with it, with all the spontaneity that everyone has.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think it is the advantage too, because for me in particular, well, I think like it's so interesting, because I think we're talking like there's a difference when I think that it's just it's a systematic like brainwashing that has put artists in in a situation that forces them to have a certain mentality that doesn't allow these types of things to go through their heads. Like, oh, what if I did like, drop a set of NFTs for this project, and I allowed, the collectors of which to not only, share in the upside of that music's release in a Web 2 way, but maybe, they get exclusive access to all this other stuff, whatever it is. And then you find a way where they can actually like benefit from the success of the music itself. I think that makes that like that fundamentally, I think, takes a second for an artist to like come to their own like realization on that is exactly what they would want to do if they realized that that's like actually fathomable within Web3 if they actually like built a project properly and did it, because otherwise it's the exact same thing that you're doing with a label. I mean, ultimately, if you give your percentage to a label, it's this, and then they give you money to then go ahead and market your music, and then they just basically network it. It's the same concept as if you did that with a community of people, and I think that's just really like where it comes to programming, and it's just a lot of independent artists who grew up in the current ecosystem don't know about these alternatives, and then when they see crypto, because they see people like Snoop Dogg, and at the beginning of the video, he's like, I turned 300K into 4.8 million. They're going to come in here with completely the wrong mentalities. And they're going to have these ideas of like flipping instead of building something that will be more long term and actually for, once again, the right, quote unquote, the right purposes. So I think that's kind of like just something that's going to take I don't even wanna say it's gonna take time, because I think what's gonna actually happen is it's gonna be they're gonna just bleed together. You know, one is gonna they're both gonna keep growing, you know, the pure side of people just, you know, building communities and understanding it for what it is, and they're gonna keep evolving ideas, but then I think there will be that other side that does come in and does things in short terms, you know, time slots, or, you know, just like short-term thinking, and I think between the two of them, they will actually create a middle ground that will become the standard. So I think, I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and you know
I'm
what
just
I find
big
funny
speculating.
here with
Go ahead.
the what I find funny with the one-off drop of this track is that for this track in history, this particular track, his its one-on-one is so undervalued. You know, if we don't talk about Web 2 or Web 3 or anything, just the track in itself and its potential value, like this is way underrated compared to what it's supposed to be. So there's the platforms and the perceptions influence that put this asset, this particular track, into a bad positioning when it comes to its actual value. If you have to ask the world community about what the price of this particular track, so maybe it will resolve over time and find its right value. But right now, when it comes to this particular week of the drop, this is particularly undervalued compared to what the success of the track is, with or without Web 2.
Right. And maybe, you know, it's the opposite once again, you know, like we always say, is like, you know, on one hand, maybe we're saying like, why is this not going for more? When maybe the real question is why is all of these other things
Yeah,
going for
yeah.
more? And so I think one of them is obviously more realistic than the other, but I think I mean, only time will tell.
Mhm.
But in the meantime, it's interesting to just see how things are developing. What like I'm personally excited to see more platforms that are going to be built for simply like trading music NFTs, and I think something like LimeWire is gonna aim to do that. I'm not that's you know, that's a random thing to bring up, but we could talk about what they're aiming to do. I don't know if it's good or bad. I'm just saying that I think it's interesting to see brands like that come into the space, and I think what they might aim to build will be more tailored to what we're talking about, which is more for the accessible person. But I'm still waiting for a platform that does that with the accessible features to, you know, your average Web 2 person and makes it easy for them, but still implements the forward-thinking mentalities that are here right now being thought of today. I think that's the thing that I wanna see personally before I get interested in, like, a platform like that, but, um
Mhm.
yeah, and I don't know. I'm curious to see who's gonna do it first. I say LimeWire just because a part of me wants to see LimeWire actually do something good here. Even though it's a completely new team, it's totally new. They just took the branding, but I mean, I don't know. we'll see.
And again, One Off is a totally curated platform. That's not a platform your average artist can access and create his music NFT on. So it's curated for the celebrities by the celebrities, and that's yet what we have to expect from what they are about to drop.
And that's really interesting point because it makes you question, is that maybe what's going to happen? Think about sound, right? And I know we always talk about sound, but I think they're just such an interesting example of something being built right now and probably multiple perspectives on that I think are valid from multiple angles. But when I see sound, obviously, like we've always said, if someone were to drop a 25 edition song NFT right now and label them as point one and basically do the exact same concept as sound, but not drop it on sound, would it sell out with under a minute? Would it sell out in under a minute? Obviously, I think we all know the answer to that would be no. And for the reason of that would be, I think up for debate. But I think ultimately we can agree that sound's marketing and sound's ability to garner the attention of collectors and the interest of people who want to spend, the ETH in the space is obviously the biggest draw there. I don't know exactly why that is, but I know that their marketing and they've done very smart things. And then there's also maybe some questionable other things. But the point is, um, uh, what happens whenever, like you said, another platform pops up where they're, like you said, like celebrities or artists that are already popping that curate their own platform, similar to how Sound did, and then they just basically start their they basically copy what Sound did.
Mhm.
They create their own market within people that they know will support that market, and then they can kind of build it from there. So it's like what you're gonna start to see, and this is completely a theory, but it's like somebody said it like, in the 80s, there was all these new record labels popping up out of nowhere, and it's
Mhm.
gonna be kind of how I see what Sound is. Sound is to me a record label. That's what it is.
Mhm.
So is Catalog. They're just different ways of thinking. Like, I don't know how to put it, but to me, as an independent artist, I see them as very similar to the way record labels would be, like, in a way. It's not exact. There's all kinds of different ways to think about it, but what I'm saying is what we're gonna start to see is more things like Sound, more things like Catalog, more things like One Off, and they're gonna keep building up, and there's gonna be so many of them, and they're all gonna be these different niches and pockets of different level of celebrityism or different level of, "Oh, this is a group that's more Web3 based. This is a community over here, and this is a more Web2 based one, and this is a really, like, accessible level one," and I just could see that actually happening for a while, for the next year to 2 to 3 years while we just keep getting all of these different quote unquote different labels popping up until eventually, the same thing that happened in the 80s with labels is after so many got created, bigger ones that were more successful than others started to just buy up the littler ones. And next thing you know, everybody's bought up by the same team. And so I could see that happening within crypto. I mean, look at look at Bored Apes and CryptoPunks.
Mhm.
I would have never in a million years guessed that would have happened as early as it did
Yeah.
because I don't really understand why CryptoPunks would sell out that early. Maybe they just don't want to build anymore and they just want to retire. I mean, that's cool, but there's a part of me that questions that, and so it's like, like if that's already the ethos, we already have one major profile pic project that just acquired the other biggest profile picture
Yeah.
project as well as another project that they own. So we're gonna see that in music as well. So what happens when sound gets so poppin' and then they buy catalog. I don't know. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not quite we're not quite there yet, but these are the things that I could see happening where we're gonna see more of these platforms, quote unquote labels that are gonna get more and more popping, and then one of them's gonna get more power than the others, and they're gonna start buying them up. So, but until then, I do think that we're gonna just see all of these different types of niche little genre like labels.
Mhm.
Like you could say sound or catalog is in a way, but
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
in the end, that comes to um, how you prefer your environment to be. If you like it black and minimalistic, or if you like it pink and glowy, that's that may create those sub rooms in which artists end up just for the sake of they prefer this UI over this UI, but the base protocol is still, open. It's just people don't necessarily know it and use these platforms in betweens to not complicate too much. Even though it is not that complicated to have your own ecosystem, or it will be less and less hard to in the future for artists to have their own room, so to speak. And that's where I think there will be a competition between those platforms and the accessibility of the tools for any independent artist to build their own room, and that the platforms becomes their community and not a platform that is trying to bring everyone, not bring everyone, but curate from another perspective. I don't know if it's clear.
Yeah, I no, I think, I mean, yeah, we're kind of just like speculating, but yeah, um, Lindsay's comment about decent. I've seen it. I haven't actually looked into it, nor have I seen if anybody is dropping on there yet or how that works.
No,
But
me neither.
that is interesting. I have seen it and I've seen people talk about it. I just don't know what exactly how that's going right now. But I can't remember what you just said. I was gonna say something. Hold up now.
But
I'll click this link. Take a look here.
But yeah, basically,
Okay.
that's kind of exactly the point on which I'm currently at writing about the crypto music exhibition, is the fact that it's always this success versus perception of success that is kind of plaguing the space. But not only the space, it has been plaguing the whole music industry for decades, and is a game of, like you said, who buys who to, in the end, control the most of the narrative when it comes to mass exposition. And that may be the core topic here, where it's always these industrial mindset trying to capture the the most part of the pie out of something that can be something else. By that I mean that the whole point of us grinding for more than a year, trying to innovate and explore the space, is about delivering into artists across the world the tools in hand for them to not have to go through a particular curated platforms. That's what you say. We're still waiting for an kind of open sea, but focused around music. And we are still dealing with curated platforms, and that there seem to be many challenges around providing such a platform. When it comes to music, it seems to be easier with visuals and other types of NFTs, gaming, URLs, whatever. But when it comes to music and the royalties and all the IPs and all the stuff that can be implemented with it, maybe that's also why it takes longer for such an open platform to emerge, and not be trying to focus too much on marketing, on drops, and on a false sense of success to make it run. And yeah, I think that's what I tried to say.
Yeah.
But
I did just look at this website, Decent, and I guess they did launch, and so yeah. So actually, you know what? This is what, what's so funny. It was the day after our show. I was so pissed because we could have definitely just chatted about this last week, but we can talk about it this week. There's an interview, and I think this will tie into this. This will tie into Decent. This will tie into like what we're talking about. But there was an interview that was posted on YouTube within the last week. It was from a guy named Adam Levy, and he did it with Blau, and like this interview about music NFTs
yeah,
and Royal, and talking about just basically the space and where it started out, where it's going, where it is now, and just his thoughts. And I thought, and it was is that are you for real, Lindsay? That's hard. That's dope. That's super dope. So basically, this interview was like seemed to have caused some friction within the space. Basically, I love that. That is definitely factuals, by the way. But anyways, the what the fuck were we talking about? Does anybody remember? Because I don't remember. No, yeah, Blau. Okay, so he said
The
some
Blau,
shit
yeah.
about music NFTs that were basically controversial. Essentially, he was saying most music NFTs are completely useless and are basically just patronage. And he didn't say it that aggressively nor that bluntly, but I think he got a lot of he basically got a lot of like I don't know, like flack for saying these things about music NFTs and that they're really not all that valuable. When he starts talking about like where's the utility, like they're never going to have some crazy utility and they're never going to scale in a massive way, which honestly I completely agree. But I would just say that I don't know. I do agree, but I do agree. But there was one thing in particular that I think and that's why I'm gonna bring up Decent here, is he's he is right though. In a lot of ways, music NFT's sole utility that makes the most sense is royalties. And I think that it's a controversial thing for a lot of independent artists, but like I think that it is by far the most obvious utility that you can do. I just think that there's obviously security problems and some other legal issues that make that maybe a bit tricky, but I actually think that it's not that complicated if you are web3 native first and then you go from there. But I think you can absolutely. I personally think I could sell that in court. I don't know. That's at least the way that I've been thinking about it. Because if you do it Web3 first and then you release it to the public, especially if your collectors are the people that are on your team, I think you can basically argue that they are a part of your marketing. They're a part of your push for when you do go from Web3 to Web2. But nonetheless, I'm looking at Decent though, and it looks quite decent. It's basically a platform that is selling royalties for NFTs, and I think this concept is going to be explored a lot. I think in the next couple of years. Now, here's the thing that I think is interesting is, for example, I'm looking at this one right here. It's by Harris Cool, Rain Part 2, 30 of 30 minted. I don't know what the price was. It doesn't tell me, but I'm going to assume 0.1. And it's 50% royalties for 3 years. I mean, dude, that's a label deal right there. That's a literal label deal.
Mhm.
I mean that is 50%, and then you're getting that advance up front, and
Yeah.
then they make the money. That's like there's not like that in 3 years. I mean, dude, that's a real that's what they want. They want to own it for at least 3 to 5 years, and probably longer if they actually fuck with you. If it's only 3 to 5 years, they probably don't actually fuck with you. So, yeah. So I kind of feel like this is a really wild platform, and I'm curious to see what the situation is. And from reading the platform, apparently the NFT holders don't even get the royalties shares until the end of the period, which is also crazy. So it's a very long-term investment, and it's a very interesting and dude, that could either be incredibly undervalued or incredibly overvalued. So super interesting to see, but really though, the thing that I think we're going to see a lot more of is music NFTs with like blatantly obvious utility like royalties. And I think that makes sense. I really do. Like I just don't think that a large percent makes sense. But there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that that's something that I've always been interested in, and that's something that I think makes it excites me the most as an independent creator. I would love that. I think the only thing that's tricky about that is who do you want to own your royalty shares, and if you're going to sell them in NFTs, I don't know if a platform, that's just a bunch of random people that can collect that is necessarily the best move. There seems to be like in my head, I feel like there might be a better method to block out maybe people that you don't want basically minting part of your royalties. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm curious your thoughts, Mighty. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking at the website as you were explaining your point of view, and that seems definitely, connected between, Spotify and Spotify type revenues and the buy and sell of an NFT. But I think, to come back to Blau, it is like, or will be, an eternal debate. This particular what he was particularly talking about, because when I was looking at the interview, that's what I tweeted after, is that listening to him, I only perceive the business perspective of music and not the overall artist, mystic, whatever, that will still have its role within the market. Market are not only numbers; they also are influenced by energy. And I didn't saw the energy in his explanation, in his equation, and so that's where the controversy came from, about the fact that one music NFT by itself, without any perks or anything additional, has a value, as does, any type of art or painting. You just buy the painting and you enjoy it at home, and that's basically what you paid for. There's no additional utility, and that's the point with the CryptoPunks and the Bored Apes. Why their own controversy was so huge was over the utility of the tokens, and I 100% agree about the fact that the capabilities NFTs can bring to music will definitely be, um, if not the biggest part of the market, the music market tomorrow. But it was more about the fact that if they don't have this utility, are they worth something? And which I stand on the fact that yes, they do. But it's more or less the debate.
Right. Yeah, and I mean,
I'm excited
I
to
don't know.
see all these additional utilities, but to me, it's like bonus. It's there's this basic
It
function
is.
of music living by itself, and all the rest that may represent the largest part of the market tomorrow, is this bonus, that we have never experienced with ever, kind of on the large scale.
I think I think the main point that I super agreed with, that I think is controversial and maybe just makes it very, like, for me, black and white and very obvious to me, why I think music NFTs by themselves can't possibly win, is that he's in the way that they are right now, at least. And like, obviously, this is not something that I want to say and believe, but this is what I think I agree with, is that in the current way that he sees music NFTs, I see that he's basically saying that they cannot scale at the current rate and at the current, distribution
Yeah, I
of,
mean, we talked about it.
price to supply.
Yeah, what might interest the a more broader audience might be the gamification of the music market or stuff like that. So that's definitely going in that direction. That the interest from the world in going into NFTs for music might be into, yeah, having a sort of gamified market in which they can play in and earn or lose, but not about coming from the art for itself. I agree on the fact that this is not what wins, in where we are going, but I just want to, be given the choice. If I want to do one-on-one with no utility, so be my choice. And if that is a
For sure.
career an artist decides, and that the only things he releases ever are music NFTs without utility, I expect that they might still have their own value.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that that particular market will be very, very small, and it'll be very hard to have that be like everybody's most leaned on,
That's the question. What
you
if
know
the hottest artist on Billboard right now decides to, just have music NFTs without utility? that's the paradigm, the paradox where only time will tell as well. But if the hottest artists decide to do this and there is no other choice, that's where, the type of situation where we might see the real value that music NFT by themselves can raise at a certain point in time, of course, but still.
Yeah. I guess I mean, look, at the end of the day, I guess we'll just have to wait and see to see
Mhm.
like how it plays out. But I think I am very interested in it. But even think about 10%.
Mm.
10% total, like that's such a valid amount to give out, and it's doable. From an artist perspective, I don't think it's really selling yourself too much, but that's still a very valuable 10%. Like I don't it's very uncomfortable to want to sell your percentage, but I feel like that is a very
I mean, I prefer to
healthy
sell it to
my max
the
amount.
yeah, I prefer to sell it to the community rather than selling it to a label. So it's not actually the platform taking these royalties; it's the audience. So that feels uh, that feels cool.
Right. I mean, I'm definitely interested in there's a certain protocol actually that I don't know if it's actually public yet, but it's something that I think is going to be super valuable to what we're talking about right now. And it's called splits or OX splits, but it's not necessarily um launched just yet. Oh, okay. Everybody knows about OX splits. but But yeah, I think it will definitely be the use case of royalty splits and for not just uh shares of the mechanicals of like Web2 royalties, but also within for NFTs and however they're distributed. Because I think that technology, I feel like honestly they just need to implement splits into absolutely every single platform ever, or just wallets, or just some way to make that a thing, because I think that protocol makes so much sense
Because
and it
I
makes
was
things so
asking
much
myself.
easier.
I'm sorry to cut you. I was
Oh, no.
kind of asking myself, projecting myself into Decent, for example, like what if I use this platform? But I'm like, I don't want to have anything to do with Spotify when it comes to Mighty 33's work, or just I put my music on it, but that's my limit, and so I'm not looking to promote my streams there. So I could potentially not be eligible to have a drop on Decent because I'm I'm not working on my Spotify stream. And that's pretty much the same situation with you where your music isn't even on Spotify. So
I think like yeah, so this is something that I've been like personally like really big on in my head right now, is thinking about how it's like I think that's like that is yeah, that exact whole problem to solution. And for Web3 native artists, I think a lot of what Web3 native artists don't want to play Web2 games ever. The idea of me saying like, oh, I'm about to release my album on Spotify, it just seems like a backwards
mhm,
move. Now, it doesn't seem like a backwards move if it's planned and accordingly, where it goes Web3 first to a community of people who collect and who are a part of that journey, and then they create this marketing, this strategy for a Web2 release,
mhm,
and they own part of that process. That to me feels way better, way more exciting, and also then you're not the only one putting it out. Now you have a group of people that are with you that are then putting it out
yeah.
at the same time they had part in the marketing. There's a lot of interest there for myself. Um, and hey, listen, that's exactly what I'm planning on doing. But it's just I have to. It has to just make sense. But that's definitely like what's interesting about that too is you can take your time. You could mint one of ones for these songs a year before you put them out on Spotify. You could
Mhm.
do whatever you want whenever you utilize the Web3 first, because I really do agree with also the points made in that interview, whereas like a lot of these transactions are patronage based. It's really based on like, hey, I believe in this space and you're in it, and I'm going to, you know, basically buy into what you're doing, but more or less like I'm pushing this into the network to see the network grow. And I think that's kind of the most lucky part about the current times. Like, yeah, I mean, it's been like that for a while now, I guess, but um um yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's a great question, Lindsay, as to why Emanate is not mentioned more. I feel like they aren't mentioned a lot. I don't know. It does seem like they don't get a whole lot of press or do a lot of press. I don't know. They don't. Yeah, they don't have as much attention as they maybe should, considering the actual workability. Like their platform actually does what they say, and it works well. But I don't know why they're. I don't know. I remember asking an Audius rep almost probably a year ago at this point if them and Emanate were cool, and the response was really weird. So I don't know if it's like there's like beef there, but I remember that the Audius rep kind of gave a very like, no, there's no beef, but like we do different things or some shit. It was. I mean, that's maybe true, but I don't know. It seemed dismissive. It seemed like he was definitely like, no, I don't fuck with them, and I don't like them at all. But whatever, we'll see.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if this is really patronage when you distribute a set of NFTs and then these NFTs have their own life within a secondary market that you don't have to deal with and that are maybe not necessarily here to patronage you, but maybe more to I don't know, flip NFTs or play the secondary market games. And so you benefit as an artist of whatever network effects happens since you release your NFT, but you end up with funds that doesn't necessarily always come from the fact that someone comes to patronage you.
Wait, so can you say that again?
Yeah. The idea is
I
that,
mean, like I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I'm wondering if it's only patronage when once you release your set of NFTs, they belong to the community and whatever networks effect happen within it, and you benefit off of that. But in the end, it turns out that not 100% of the revenue generated out of this secondary market comes from only patronage initiatives.
Yeah. Um. Ultimately, we can. Um. Okay. Okay. Um. I mean, Audius isn't in there either. I mean, that's just because they're not NFT platforms, though. They declined. Oh, okay. Um. I don't know. I've never even heard of Sturdy Exchange. That's interesting. I mean, yeah, like obviously we all know that like there's gonna be like these fucking people who are gonna control the narrative and like obviously push their fucking friend's company. I mean that shouldn't be a shock. I think I think the real thing that like I always question is like how do you properly address that without coming off just like you feel like you're left out. You know what I mean? Because that's really
Mm-hmm.
what it is. Like, for example, let's talk about sound. I love talking about sound because I'm biased towards them. But like, listen, I think sound is like I said, I think sound is genius in the way that they marketed and put things out. But I think a lot of the success of sound is I don't want to say fabricated, but it is very like manipulated in a way. And also, yes, the curation of that platform is absurd. Considering also, like I said, I was told, quote unquote, that I was going to be, I had a meeting with the guy, blah blah blah, that I was going to be onboarded, and that never happened. So obviously, I have an interesting perspective, and I'm biased, and I'm like, well, if I was told one thing and then it didn't end up happening, the question that I have is what ended up changing, where we landed from, and this was before Sound even launched, right? This was before they even did their first artist drop. I was told that I was going to be a part of this first opening catalog, and it's like that curation had to have been so centralized that their plan changed during the process of doing it, and to the point where they got to Snoop Dogg. And obviously, I have not dropped on Sound, but my point is where and how do we possibly address that situation from my perspective as an artist, and also from an audience's perspective who might want to see one of their artists drop on a platform like that, or realistically, which is the real answer for independent, and what we should be aiming for is how do we just completely transcend a platform that's garnering so much market control also ultimately. Like they're gaining a lot of leverage in the space. They're gaining a lot of power, and if we don't necessarily, like, let's say, let's just for the sake of the conversation say we don't agree by what they're doing. How does one actually properly, you know not stop this, but how do you combat that? How do you get across that obstacle as an independent creator that wants to do these things that, or just transcend them? How do you beat them? How do you address it? I don't know. So I'm just curious if anybody has any thoughts on that.
Yeah, as that's the kind of thing I'm trying to make my mind around for the writings. I think most of the answer is about the knowledge. It's about educating, being heard. That the right way to use the tools are being heard and are cutting through. Um, and yeah, because that's basically what they are doing is they pump the narrative to gain, this perception game.
Right. And it's such a great model. And this is why I say, like, their model of success has worked so well, because it's accessible enough. And I think, like, why I think it works so well is every single sellout is a great marketing ploy immediately. Like, it's just a great marketing ploy
Hmm.
for those artists, and then for the platform themselves. Um, create a marketplace. Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, what everybody. There's no doubt that this has to be being built too, like a platform like this. And actually, Mighty, you've brought that to my attention. The platform that is being, like, curating all of the music NFTs into one platform,
Hmm.
right? So it is being built, I
Yes.
guess.
Yes, and again, we've heard about Emanate working on a new version that will be particularly centered around being specifically a music NFT marketplace. So I'm very curious to see what they will unveil soon there. But yeah, I think to come back of about the knowledge thing, that's really the core of why I had this initiative to create this crypto music exhibition. It's the answer to Easy's question lies to me in the fact that the culture gets heard, like the original culture gets to a point where it's has actors within it that are that becomes so successful within a new mainstream generation of music audience that they compete with the narrative on the big theater, so to speak, which is dangerous because then you start to be playing dangerous games, and these are waters that are um, pretty tricky. So I don't know. I think this particular moment in time that we may or may not see in the future, but that I'm speculating on here, is that when the culture itself gets to a point where it's visible enough to compete with the industry trying to battle the knowledge narrative, then yeah, there's a chance for this new generation to be learning the right process and what made this culture become what it is, and how they can, jump on it and be part of it on the larger scale. But right now, it is not being heard enough or big enough to be in that type of situation. So we are still battling with forces that are way greater than us when it comes to playing the marketing perception, because there's millions of dollars spent right now on how to promote NFTs to an audience that we can benefit of and that will not benefit them. And yeah, that's how I see it happening in the future. So that that's what Lindsay was saying. We need to yell more, and but not only yell more. I think it's a structural battle. It is still about us continuing to build the right foundations of the future music economy, and not being too much influenced by the this big money once it will be proposed to us to deviate from that quest, and that's where it's going to be dangerous waters in the future if the culture gets to a point where it can compete, because it will constantly be corrupted or try to be corrupted with money, and that's what we see today with some of the blockchain platforms initiatives in general, whether it's streaming or music NFTs. They are battling clearly between being corrupted or not, or keeping the vision intact. And we see a lot of flips. The CryptoPunk is one of the best example where the ethos of the pioneers of the space will lie in the future when it comes to this culture becoming, because I believe it will at some point be able to compete with the industry's illusory culture.
Yeah. Um, just to comment on some of these comments I was reading. I do agree though. I do agree that it's dangerous to rely on these market or these platforms. I just think that most people don't know any better, and I think that's the real problem. So I think most people don't know any better. They just walk into something and then they just say like, "All right, where can I do things?" And I think that's obviously like a responsibility, like accountability issue, but like that's like most people won't do that work. And also even the people who have done that work are still semi reliant on these platforms. Like for example, if I was not onboarded to catalog, I would not have been able to drop one of ones and probably have them successfully work. I mean, it's just the reality of what catalog has done from a marketing perspective, and it is what it is. I mean, I don't think that I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's more or less like how can we divert away from them and still utilize what we're learning from them and then actually have those be successful? I just think that the
Yeah,
majority of the market is not paying attention to anything other than these platforms. And that's the real problem. It's that the collectors and the people who are more or less funding the value flow are just simply not going to pay attention, to your website. And like and that's more or less like a facilitating your own community problem, but I don't know. That's like my only pushback on that is like, yeah, I agree, but we have to be able to like actually have some sort of solution other than just yeah. If we
yeah,
created our own platform, like that'd be sick, but I just don't think that's um just don't think that's fathomable. I mean, it'd be sick though. It's a great idea.
yeah. I think maybe one issue lies in the fact that um, you know the original pioneers shares all their IDs, and these IDs are the other thing on which others make money without giving back to where the idea come from, and I think that's maybe might be most of the where the frustration can come from when it comes to the the music community, the one that really uh, innovates and finally bring all these ideas to life to venture capitalists that then spend billions on it. Um, it's it feels like it's going into only in one direction. If you see,
What direction is that?
um, basically they come and steal our ideas, and the community doesn't always benefit off of that. How how much the idea comes from.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's yeah, that's there's no getting away from that. I mean, if anybody, if you do anything that's innovative, I mean, of course, people are going to copy and steal it. I mean, that's a good sign. But and then of course these big platforms who might see, like, let's say we did create like the greatest marketplace for music NFTs, and I mean, and we facilitated it. It wouldn't probably be all that difficult for somebody of way greater capital value to just steal the idea and then, deploy their own thing. But I feel like Web3 does have a stronger grip than that, and I don't wanna make it seem like, "Oh, we're, like, deleveraged so much by these things that are being built around us," but it is always gonna be a constant struggle with people who have the wealth and really are holding the value of any current market, no matter what that is. So I think, like, we are always gonna face that challenge, but it's whenever we do find our way to having some leverage, it's what we do with it is really where I definitely would say is, like, where we can shift the leverage and shift the perspective is, yeah, let's say somebody does do a very independent, successful project that, shifts the narrative and really, like, pushes people to wanna benefit independent artists for them being creative rather than for them just being on a platform where they know they can flip the NFT for 10x, you know? So,
Yeah, because that's what
but
Snoop Dogg is doing right now.
Exactly, and so it's hard to say no to that too, though, because you can't be mad at a market that is set up to be that free. If I sell an asset and then someone 10x's it 5 minutes later, I mean, deep down, why wouldn't you be mad? But, like, in a lot of ways, you really can't be because there's that's just the game that is set up right now, like, and if you know that that's gonna happen, then either, 1, don't sell it for that price or whatever it is, and I don't know, it's hard to tell what's actually, undervalued and overvalued right now in terms of one of ones or additions or what platform or what artists, what creators, what's actually an innovative thought, what's actually, not. So I think I don't know, it's just gonna keep being random and chaotic like this until I think something overwhelming happens, at least that's from my perspective, but, yeah, I mean, slowly but surely, though, these platforms are gaining more and more leverage, and we cannot ignore that.
Yeah, we will see.
We will see. But anyway, what else going on, huh?
Well, I heard the MVMF is back on.
Say that again?
I said I've heard that the MVMF is coming back on.
Oh, really?
That's what I heard.
What's the current, trajectory?
Yeah,
Does anybody wanna talk about it? I do need to get in the office. I honestly meant to go last week, but I was asleep. I saw that you guys were meeting like 2 weeks ago or something. It was maybe last week or the week before, but I meant to show up and I completely forgot, but or was asleep or some shit. But I definitely do need to see what's been going on or what the new plans are. Honestly, we've been thinking about some things that we've been wanting to like bring to the forefront. I just think that more shit will come up where I'll like start to do other things, and then that'll become like my focus for like a couple weeks, and then I'll be like, all right, it's time to do this, and then end up getting just defocused again. And honestly, like when we really like locked into the MVMF, obviously last time, as everybody knows, that was a very like intensive couple of months, which was dope. But it's yeah, I think it was just yeah. But I'm curious to see what's going on. I don't know. I don't know if anybody does want to chat about it now. I don't know. Do you know? Do
Maybe
you know?
as a representative of Hood Rats Anonymous. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, let's go.
I miss
Please.
I miss y'all. I don't know if my fan is too loud. Let me know.
No,
Yeah,
it's
we've
great.
just been hanging out. Yeah, I miss you. We've been hanging out for a few weeks and just spending time with each other. Everybody getting reconnoitered to talking to each other because is my fan loud?
No, it's
Let me know.
amazing. It's like a good ASMR
Dude,
effect.
your fan is totally fine. Your fan is totally fine.
Okay,
No one
because
can hear it.
it's like the weather here is like killing my brain cells. And so yeah, we've just been thinking, and we haven't started doing anything. But I was hoping you and I, and Mighty, and some of the kind of humans that spend too much time with each other can at least have a conversation before we trudge forward. But at least we can start meeting again, because I think it's funny that you guys had this conversation today around like all these platforms. In reality, like it's our unsaid, untold responsibility to kind of push the space forward and make sure that the space, whether we like the responsibility or not, this is just my 2 cents. We have the responsibility to kind of preserve the kind of social fabric that we've built together, whether we're here in 2000 or 2020. We have responsibility to uphold the community and make sure that we preserve that, because at the moment, like, some of us are at war with these people, and like not everybody got to jump in the war. It's cool. Like I enjoy fighting people, but a part of that, in my opinion, is MVMF and the thing that we collectively built. You know, problems aside, I think we built something that's representative of the community at large, and we have more tools and resources now than we did back in October and the months that we built up to that. Who the fuck is texting me? And so yeah, and so I've been thinking a lot about what it looks like to kind of really figure out what this can look like, but it wouldn't be MMF without certain people. And so we've just been starting small. I've been talking to different people, and Mighty and I talked, I don't know, was it last week? And I know you've been busy, but get in my fucking office.
I love it. No, I love all that. That sounds fucking dope. I'm excited. But yeah, I completely agree with you though. Like whether we want to or not, I do agree that we do have that responsibility, and things like the MVMF are those pure types of things that could be the catalyst to like give us that type of, give us that power back. Not that we lost it even, but that we are, like you said, like we are at war in a way, whether we want to. I think the reason why, like, a lot of people don't want to admit that too is like, or even sometimes I want to say like, is it a war? Is like, you want to believe that these platforms that are building in Web3 are all on your side. We want to believe that they're building for us
Yeah.
and that they're helping us, but as we all know, that's not necessarily the case. They're building for their own bottom line. They're building for their own, pockets and their own marketing so that they can then go and do things with Snoop Dogg or whatever it is. And so I totally agree. And don't get me wrong, like, if we build up MVMF to the point where Snoop Dogg wants to come on stage, like, don't get me wrong, we can figure something out. But I mean, I do love it. And I think that honestly, ever since we ended, I did always have a lot of thoughts about what we could do, and what, like, I think just that group of people could absolutely have the capability to do, not just on a grand event sense, but like even on a reoccurring sense. I think that's something that I was super interested in, like right after, but I think we just all kind of like took that breather, and then obviously it was just very slow getting back into things, but at least particularly with that. But I definitely I definitely think there's so much potential that we could do, and I'm super down. Yeah, my interest has never really went anywhere. I guess I get super fucking into just multiple things. But yeah, I'll definitely step into the office ASAP, even if it's
I
not
think
I
even if it's not a
the
Friday.
Yeah, the same.
I think the timing now is also pretty good for, kind of redrawing that line in the sand, and working with people that are actually in the space and new people too. I mean, we roll pretty open. But yeah, trying to sort of rekindle that fire that we had burning, and which we burnt ourselves out because we went so big, kind of. But yeah, just kind of garnishing some really quality safe music space, whether we do some small events and lead up to something bigger, whatever comes. I think there is, with the group that is established as MVMF, and as it grows, and if we're able to maybe get a little work done on the DAO end of things, and let it sort of take some of its own pace once we can give it some rails. It's something that, yeah, it's pretty huge.
Yeah, 100% agree, and I like that too. I think like what I think is dope about the way we did it the first time is just the fact that we all just blindly were just super down to do this thing that none of us really knew how as I mean, maybe some of us foresaw it, but the point is I think nobody fully understood how much of a challenge or how much of a weight that would actually be. Um, and I think it was just a great trial run to be able to just build up some chops to be able to go forward now. And I think honestly, like what we could do now, if we just now we know that we can't necessarily handle a 3-day feast, but I think personally what's most interesting to me are just smaller bites and maybe something um you know reoccurring, even something that we could switch up and have somebody kind of like even host or be things like that. I literally did not mean to say the host thing. That's hilarious. But either way, but the point is yeah, we could definitely find, I think, people um that could do these types of things. But I don't know. I'm getting ahead of myself already. But I'm just saying smaller bites. That was the thing that I think was my biggest thought off rip was like, man, if we were able to pull that off, even in the way that we did with the way that we planned it and the way that we set that up, even how grand and how much weight it was realistically, we weren't necessarily able to withstand, even though we still did it. Well, imagine if we did a fucking 12-hour show. Imagine if we did like a one 4-hour show every week. Like it would be so much more realistic and fathomable, and there'd be so much more because the number one thing that I thought that was great about it was that the networking that happened in in natural, like the natural networking effect of doing events, live events, and those types of the networking effects. That's really the strongest thing that I think comes from doing the events and just building things. And I think what I'm saying is that it makes more sense to do more volume of smaller packed, denser events. And when I say dense, I just mean like more or less just like 4 hours, and just it's just 4 hours of fucking of an event that whatever MVMF comes up with for that certain event. But just more of those in small achievable packs would be sick. But hey, listen. But I'm just spitballing here. I got on the idea because it was brought up, but I definitely um have not stopped thinking about how MVMF could definitely rally to the planets, um, which are most likely just lights that we don't understand. You know what I mean? Come on, guys. Like your space is probably water. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's probably water, guys. But listen, we don't need to go there. Um. But hey, I'm super down. Yeah.
Yeah, the same. I mean, to me, it just means a lot to see just the idea evolving naturally, and that is already beyond us, beyond you and I, beyond Token Smart. Uh, this network that we created, for sure. If you realize the power it has already today, after all these experiences we came through together, um, all the things we worked in these virtual offices for the past 2 years, and made us bump into each other to the point where we start to have fun and we start to work on crazy ideas together and to finally realize those ideas. I mean, the MVMF last October was really the first exercise as of let's work together on such a scale for something that is that big, and that truly highlighted the potential of what can be done together, even though on smaller beats, but as well on innovating even greater, like not saying to do more than 3 days, but something that looks, more broadcast during those 3 days and more impressive, so to speak. And but
Jeez.
I agree that this leverage, that only this name that we took 4 weeks to find, and that you found pretty much, if I recall correctly, like you were like, why
I don't
not?
know if I don't know if I would say I was the one. I don't think I came up with the name, but I definitely remember pushing one of the days for us to definitely not pick one name. I'll tell you that. I remember there was one day in particular where we were like, "What name should we go with?" And people were like, "Oh, let's go with this name." And then there was like Music Metaverse Fest was just so basic to me. I was like, "This has to be the name." But like there was this one other name which I can't really remember what it was, but I was like, "Can we just like do a vote, guys?" and
Yeah.
and then we did do a vote and we picked MVMF overwhelmingly. And I remember before we did the vote, everybody was like picking this other name, and I was like, "There's no chance I believe people are picking this other name." And so we did a vote, and for some reason, it just landed on the MVMF. So
Yeah.
I don't think I came up with it, but I definitely may have been one of the pushers of an extra vote to push us over the edge.
Yes. But I just find it beautiful that we are here thinking like, okay, we now are breathing a little bit back from the experience and thinking about it, projecting it in the future. We open so much door the first time that it really isn't difficult for any and each of us to think about how to dive deeper and do something better, and also think on the side of what, as
And
as a collective,
much,
what
so
other
much is
type of
ripping through
bites
my head right
can
now.
be produced in betweens, whether it's weekly or monthly or whatever.
Would
Like,
everybody? I'm just curious, just to get, I mean, listen, we don't have to turn this into an MVMF thing, but like, I don't see a difference. If we're gonna shift gears for a millisecond here, might as well shift gears, just because I know everybody in here has a thought on it. But like, would most people who were a part of MVMF, would you guys think, in terms of what's the most interesting thing to do next? And what I mean by interesting, I don't mean like crazy. I mean like what do you think is the most fathomable? For me, like I'll answer that question first for myself. I kind of already said it, but I'll just say it again to maybe spark or inspire an answer from other people. And it's my answer would be reoccurring events. Would be something that we can do, facilitate, have somebody who kind of can head it or be like the face of that thing or the voice of that thing. Or maybe multiple people, and maybe it's interchangeable, and then different artists, different people kind of are a part of a weekly type thing or a monthly type thing, whatever it is. But for me, something reoccurring, where we can kind of, it would be like a small bites. And then as we are doing these types of things, we can be in the background planning a bigger type of event like we did
yeah,
last year. And I think that's probably the most, I mean, I think that's pretty broad, but that is kind of like where my head goes. And the most interesting is like, let's not even, personally, I wouldn't necessarily be mega interested in like planning a mega event again, but I would absolutely be planned on finding everybody who was a part of it, who's still here, who wants to really like kind of like, gear up and find a way where we can do something reoccurring. And I really am just key on the reoccurring, because I think that's where we're going to garner the most, um, just the most everything, the most attention, the most leverage in the long term. And then we can start to experiment more also with more reoccurring events, and we can see what works, what do people react with, and we can just have some fun whenever we do stuff like that. It doesn't need to be reoccurring in the sense that it's the same show, like it's a Mighty My show every week, but it could be like a MVMF event every single time is different, and that's maybe something that
Yeah.
they look forward to. But something about that is my answer. But I'm curious if anybody, Mighty, if you have an answer, if anybody else has a thought on like what's most interesting to do next as a group.
No, I agree with what you said. I think the challenge is more like finding the workflow to make it easy if you do
Yeah.
reoccurring events. But um, it doesn't stop from organizing a bigger event once a year, or something that is symbolically epic. Coachella is once a year, stuff like that. To play within those range of existence, but in between. I totally agree that it makes sense to exist all throughout the year by that MVMF is not only a festival, it's the community behind, and and be highlighted reoccurringly is definitely a must move.
Yeah, real quick, I was gonna say, I think, I love what Easy said, really cool showcase, like 4-hour event, but super tight, make it monthly to start. I think really the ethos there that I totally agree with, which is the first time we went with this, we were like, what's the biggest, most fucking extravagant, craziest thing we can do? And we tried it. Now I think what's dope about what we can do now is with that under our belts, I see as basically being able to do the exact opposite. Let's plan something that we are going to have 4 weeks of extra time on. Like we don't even need to plan it type shit. We're going to be like, "Oh, well that could be done tomorrow."
Mm-hmm.
But like we're going to still plan it multiple weeks in advance, and let's just see, I mean, just as a test, just to see how dope we can make one 4-hour event and like give ourselves optimal fucking overwhelming amounts of time to do it, so that whenever it's the case, it's just going to be a fucking blast and we can just see how that feels. But I don't know. Once again, I'm just like, I'm like totally in MVMF thinking mode now.
It made me think of the Whip meetup. Every weekend we are still under the roof of Token Smart, where it's just every week, and this can be every month, but you go to a different place in the metaverse. These places are owned by the community, so it's highlighting different places all throughout the year, and you can do those type 4-hour events which are strictly music, for example, like MVMF parties, but doing it following the model of the Whip meetup, pretty much, which is about highlighting the community and the different artists that are can for most of them can be ready, in 24 hours to do a set or something every week.
100%.
Or every month. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that can be something of the realm of what we're talking about, all of which excites me and it makes me feel like excited to do, because I think like the opposite, I want to feel the opposite this time. I want to feel like it's like you have a year to make one song, Yeah, you have 1 year to make a song. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I could fucking make you a song today. It might not be great if I did it in one day, but it's kind of like that. Like I just want to give ourselves a ridiculous amount of time to do something that would be simple, and then we just fucking do it and we smack it out of the park, and then we do it again. And then I don't know. And then we just figure out whatever we want to do. And then in the meantime, we can be planning other things that are like special events. I almost seem like everything could be an experiment until we do something that kind of lands for everybody's workflow and just like interests and what works. But also, I'm just also down for whatever. You know what I mean? I was thinking like, I was actually thinking some wild shit, but I don't even think it's like optimal timing to bring it up. I think it's a bad time to bring up my thought right now. But now that I'm saying that, I know that I'm going to be prompted to most likely spill the beans of my thought. Yes. All right. Well, I'll share. So I don't remember. I don't know if she's actually in here, but I remember there's this girl that was in here. And I think she's a sex worker. Now I was thinking, what has anybody ever realistically done a metaverse event? Listen, I know I'm going off the rails here early, guys, but imagine a not safe for work metaverse event. And I'm not saying we are the ones, I'm not saying we're the ones to facilitate it, but we maybe give somebody the nudge and the okay to go ahead and do it, just to see. Because I don't know, there's a part of me that does kind of feel like that is obviously a field that will be popular. I mean, I'm not saying that we're going to be the ones to do it. I'm just saying that that has to be a thing. And like, I'm curious if there's people doing that now. Like, I wonder if you're like walking around crypto voxels at the wrong time. You like walk into this space and it's just all these fucking metaverse characters just standing around, just like typing messages, like wild shit. I could see it. I could see it. And
Yeah.
I could see POAPs. I
Yeah.
could see all kinds of stuff. But I mean, I mean, look, like I said, I realized that the timing of that idea probably not the best. That's not where the MVMF wants to go just yet. We might want to give it a few events before we go that direction. But hey, just wanted to throw it out there.
Okay, keep the idea, but you know, it makes me think that I know we're not that far, I believe, from this type of stuff. But Natalie absolutely killed me with her comment that there's a glory hole in crypto voxels. But
That's hilarious.
I actually know someone actually these days that is doing camming, like cam girls, but he's taking, you know, there's this 3D adult virtual world that is not a metaverse. It's more like a Second Life type thing, but it has good visuals. And basically, what he does is he created his virtual character, and he goes on camming website with it, basically, and that works. So that says a lot.
What, like an Omegle type thing?
Yeah. Yeah. But with a virtual character. And as he's in that Second Life type world, he's able to react to the comments and, you know, be pretty custom about his character and what he does with it. But he makes like $100 a month, $1,000 a month doing it with this virtual character. So that is a lot about the type of things that are pushing in the underground world, going in that direction when it comes to not safe for work metaverse parties in the future.
100%. It's 1000% going to be a massive part of the metaverse once it makes sense. Just like porn was a massive part of the internet once the internet was established and people were utilizing the internet.
30%.
Like, I feel like that's going to be
30% of the world traffic.
30%
of the world traffic is porn, yeah.
And that's on Clivity. You know what I mean? I didn't want to have to say it this early in the chat, but that is on Clivity.
Knowing that more than 50% of the internet traffic are bots, you do the equation.
Yeah, I would honestly argue it's probably more than 30% as well. I would probably argue it's gotta be. It's gotta be more than 30%. I mean, 30% is still a large portion of usage, but it down, yeah. But I agree.
What is the smooth?
What is the what?
The smooth.
The smoot?
That is in the chat.
The smut.
The smut.
The smut. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
The smoot. It's a smoot.
Smut. Le smut.
Smooth is like fancy smooth.
Okay.
Yeah. Smut is like, I don't know. It's like I don't want to say it's an insult. I mean, but it's not necessarily a compliment. Just like it's like, hey man. It's like saying, hey smut. You know.
I see. Thank you.
Say that to your lady friend next time you see her. Say hey, what's up, smut?
Yeah, does it sound nice? Yeah.
It doesn't sound nice, but it's better whenever you say "yeah" right before it. "Yeah, smut." What's up, you smut? If you throw the "yeah" in there, it's kind of gives it a bounce.
Yeah. I guess. I'm not sure I will use
Charlie
it.
says, what? I'm just playing. Maybe not say that. It's not necessarily rude. I mean, I'm just she just might be taken aback. She'd be like, Mighty, where did you learn this fucking exotic lingo? And then you just tell her that you learned it on the MightyMai show. And then she says, what's that? And then you say, oh, it's this token smart show that you should show up to. And then that's whenever we get a new guest.
That's funny because sometimes around me there's still, even my family that are like, oh, you get this show on Tuesday. I forgot after 1 year. I'm like, yeah, it's every week. So that's cool.
Has she ever, I mean, on the reels, has she ever tuned in?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, discreetly.
Wow. Is she in here right now? Tell us the truth.
No, I don't think.
Okay. Honestly, I wish I'm glad. I mean, that's good that I guess I don't know, because if I did know, I don't want to say I would make it uncomfortable, but I would maybe make it partly uncomfortable at times just for the fun. But that's cool. That's cool that she shows up. I wonder if you ever are like do you get nervous when she shows up?
No, not necessarily.
The nervous Nellies. You're trying to sometimes that happens, you know what I mean? I get nervous sometimes. I used to always get nervous whenever someone would come and watch me play sports or something. I'd be like, "Oh, don't watch me. Don't watch
I
me do
try to take
this."
it as the exercise of doing a show, and so if I was,
Okay.
had to be bothered by that, then I wouldn't do a show live. But yeah, of course, it can interfere, but not a not a problem.
No, not at all. Um, later on, guys. I don't know if you're both leaving, but later on. Thanks for tuning in. Tuning in, skis. Nebby-headed hooligan seems to be still around. No, just telling her bye. Nice.
Where do we
So
go?
yeah, what are we at? Oh, we're at 8. We're at 8 already? Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of, well, we crushed it, huh? I feel like we kept it. See you later, you smuts. There you go. See, doesn't that feel good? I could tell you felt really good saying that. I'm just gonna. Yeah.
I see what this means now.
We're building it. I love
Thank you,
smuts.
Carolina.
Nappy-headed hooligan gets it. You got to. You have to. Honestly, in some respects, smuts make the world go round.
Yeah, but from here, I really love the first 2 hours. So, how do you feel? Like those
I mean,
conversations
I'm
were
down.
great.
I'm down to wrap it up. I'm down to maybe do another very short little while. I don't want to mush their brains too much from this point, because it's very possible that we just go straight mush mode on them. I'm surprised it took us this long before we were thinking about going mush mode.
Yeah, it seems that we had a lot to digest from what happened this week, and that was really interesting to dive into.
Smutfest.
Smutfest is starting.
I just hope. Listen. If there is a smut fest, I'm just hoping that everybody in the chat is showing up, because I'll be there.
Yeah, but
Front.
that's
row.
really the
Front
first
row.
time I see this word.
Smut. I mean, honestly, like For
It's a
the
new one for
record,
today.
send me the ticket link. Love it. Smut is, I mean, dude, honestly, like I would probably argue that smut and slut are like on almost interchangeable. They're not. They're not really. Like they're not. But smut is like almost like calling someone a slut, but like it's really not like calling someone a slut at all. It's like hard for me to describe. For me, that's how it feels. It's not like calling someone a slut, but it's like calling some. Maybe it's the
I
rhyme
see.
scheme that gives me that feeling. But it's like a smut. It's like a dog. Or it's like a mutt, but like a smut. So it's like a dog, but like for a girl. But also, this is my interpretation. I'm sure other people's interpretations are way different. So
I'm
I mean,
gonna
I don't
check
know.
on the
I guess
Urban Dictionary. That's a great tool.
check Urban Dictionary. Honestly, Urban Dictionary is gonna save us on this one. What are we getting? What is the info?
First one says written sex like in fan fictions.
Say that again.
Let me copy paste it.
Yeah, copy paste that. Written sex, like in fan fictions. Smut. What? All right. Well, let's just say I've been using the word wrong, and so
It
far.
says a second one. Second one says erotic writing that contains explicit sexual content. Something that renders you wanting to pour bleach into your eyes after reading, yet possesses an irresistible allure that makes you eventually give in and read it again.
Well, I mean, yeah. Listen, I guess I call a lot of people a lot of things that aren't necessarily like make sense, and I guess smut would be one of those things now. It would go under that category of using the word wrong, but still feels good.
But yeah, these are the two most upvoted definitions. A third one that is really upvoted says a writing style that is sexually explicit and generally associated with females. Basically, porn aimed towards women. The difference between porn and smut: porn usually has a very little plot line and is extremely sexually explicit, mostly watched or read for the picture aimed towards men. Smut is highly developed story with love lines and other things that appeals to women, that also includes a lot of sexual explicit scenes, can be in comic form or in written form, as in a romance book.
Interesting. Very
So it's
interesting.
erotic, more.
This is exactly the kind of off the rails topic that we like here on MightyMai show. After the 8-12 time pan, this is exactly what we need to be talking about right now. I can't remember exactly what I was about to say, but it was important. It was about what you just said. Oh yeah. Okay. This is whatever. Here's my point. Is that actually accurate in the sense that do women prefer that type of thing? Because like it says, it's tailored more towards women. I'm assuming that's what that's saying by the way you read it. So that it's like
Yeah,
basically assuming that these very intense storylines, these very long drawn out storylines that are more love driven. Is that an accurate depiction
yeah,
of how it's saying?
yeah, that's
Is that
correct.
accurate? Is that accurate in practice? I mean, feel free to not answer, but I mean, for any lady that would like to share such a secret, you guys are all about the fan. You guys are all about the fan fictions. You guys are all about the smuts. That's your vibe. That's what we're doing now. We're reading long 1,000-page books just to fucking get off. You got to read this whole ass storyline just to feel the vibe. I'm just curious. Is that where we're at? That's a snap.
But that's the definition of the smut from the Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll tell you one thing. I'm incredibly excited to eat some tacos tonight. That's what I'm excited for. I'll tell you guys. That's the one thing that I'm thinking about at this current moment.
Well, maybe that's the right time to wrap that up and call for a next MightyMai show.
We did. What an incredible show it has been. Here we are talking. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, we've been through great conversations, I feel. So I feel blessed about it, like always. The word of the day is the smut. I've learned that tonight.
I like that. I like that. Maybe we need a word of the day every week. A word of the week. We'll call it a word of the week. We need to do more. I've been saying it, and I know that I've just not delivered. But like, I really want to do something interactive. I don't know what it is though, and I don't want to press him, but you know, the Bullets or Bears show. It's coming. It's coming at some point. It's resurgence. It's on its way back, but it's gonna take some time. You know what I mean? But man, I really just want to like do some interesting stuff. But who knows? Maybe that's also something that we can just take that inspiration and take it into the MVMF any day now. I know I'm letting you down. I'm letting everybody down. Actually, I don't really probably not really letting anybody down. I hope not at least. But yeah. What a great, incredible show with knowledge and wonder, experiments,
And
words.
love.
This is exciting stuff. This is big stuff. And we're just getting started. You know? And hopefully we can plan something that will be as shocking to the world as I don't know. I was gonna say something and then I was like, that's probably not a good idea. Because I was thinking about
we'll find out about
recent
it down
events
the
in the
line.
world.
Don't worry.
Yeah. I know. Down the line. But I do appreciate everybody.
Yeah, that was
if
great.
you want to wrap us up as well here, Mighty, I know that you have a special gift at taking us out.
Absolutely. I have those OpenSea NFTs back, so
You have what?
no, I was saying I've got my NFTs released on OpenSea, so I can tune us out with a good old NFA song
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect.
after
Back to
reviving the MVMF right here, right now on Token Smart.
that is crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy,
That-
and
That is crazy. That's crazy timing if you think about it. It's pretty wild.
yeah, I mean, as Easy said, good timing to just start thinking about it and getting together again. Just wrap our mind that yeah, we might want to move forward with it, even though it's an overwhelming type of thing that we're building, and we don't know where this goes because of all the implications, like we said, the battle and everything, and life basically. So that's always exciting to think about it, but even more to think about the potential that we can have all together working towards something that manifests itself as a culture, as I said. And yeah, so and to me it's still quite incredible to witness that, thinking of the MightyMai show last year, just talking about it, and then like you know, seeing the situation where it's almost like you are coming and take our hands, like, hey, let's go again. It's running. So now let's go and let's do something about it together. And that's what I like the most in that situation, and what I'm excited the most, even though I'm sure how to say, like my implication may be totally different from what I did the first year, but I have no idea, like I think any of us yet have, about what each of our implication towards moving on with it looks like. So I don't blame anyone, and neither myself. I just know that I'm excited to think about it. So yeah, from there it's just about yeah, doing it day after day and see how that goes and do our best. And yeah, I'm sure there's the potential to do something that it doesn't stop here, like clearly. So yeah, I'm excited, and again, thank you for being here tonight and sharing all these ideas together. And thank you, Mai. And yeah,
Thank you.
I'm excited, and I feel good. Like my goal for this week will be to finish the writings and start shipping this exhibition, so you can finally see it and explore what it is. But yeah, I think only 1 week left would be the best timing for me to feel good about the writings and the invitation that it is to explore the virtual space. And yeah, from then, I think that's a great asset that will go in that direction of what everything we've been talking about, to refer our existence and explain it, connecting the dots between everything, so that it's easier to understand where this culture comes from and where it goes, and etc. So even for us, it will be another asset to refer to when it comes to trying to explain what we are doing every day is, basically. So I'm quite excited about this too, and I'm gonna
Oh yeah.
wish everyone a good week, and yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Well, as always, I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody in the chat, and yeah, it is just great to be able to just chat here every week and explore new ideas, throw our opinions and at all of this, and just see where we're gonna go from here. And it's exciting journey. We're all here together, trenching forward, trenching forward. Word of the
Probably.
day is smut. Use it in a sentence at least once a day for the next week. Come back with video proof of this. And honestly, like, I'll reward you. I don't know how, but I will.
I know a lot of smut books, actually, but that's another topic. That's totally
Okay, cool.
random,
Yep.
but someday in a house, like we were trying to remove the parts from the old owner, and so destroy some weird buildings that were in the property. But when we destroyed it, we found out that the previous owner of the house had hidden, kind of like you would do with the trash, all his wife's smut books within cement, buried between blocks of cement, basically. And so once we destroyed this part, we found hundreds of smut books from his wife. They're all, they're all dead now. So it was supposedly books from the 60s, the 70s, erotic romance and type stuff.
I bet there's some
But that's why I
fucking
know.
wild conditions in there.
That's why I understand the
I bet
meaning
that book.
now.
I bet that book is what the game Twister was based off of. I bet there's ancient positions in there. We might need a copy for the chat.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, this was the random story.
Well, it was a great story. I actually have a similar story, but not really. I just remember when I was a kid, I was in a bookstore with my family, like just walking around, and I was like super young, like really young. I actually don't even know how I remember this fully. I just think it was such a a big a moment in the story that I think I just couldn't not remember this. But I like picked up this this smut. I picked up this smut book, and yeah, I guess I just was like reading it in the middle of the store while we were checking out or something, and I guess I like just said something wild about the book like open in the store, and everybody just like started laughing, and then in the car, my mom was like, yeah, that's that's sex. I was like, whoa, that's fucking sick. I was like, I don't know why did she look like she was in pain? I think like it's literally what I said, because the book was like it was visual. It was visual. So, I didn't understand the difference between what may have been perceived as physical pain or perhaps physical pleasure at the time. And some people who probably read smuts are into both. So, nothing against it though. It's all great. But point is, so yeah, that's my story. You shared a story. I shared one as well.
Yeah. That's great memories coming from the world of the week. So there's maybe something to gamify. Who knows?
That's possible. I still feel like we could. We could. Even with the news, even with just like showing up and just talking, all of it. I
Yeah.
love licking spicy smuts. That's wild. That's a wild thing to say. I love that we're going that direction. I don't even disagree with you. Peep the GIF. Oh no, I mean I see the GIF.
And don't forget your PO-app that either you received in the DM or there's been a link going on in the chat for a PO-app hunt. I don't know if it's if the list is still available, or if there are still PO-apps available in that list. And yeah, DM Carolina if you don't have the PO-app. But yeah, thank you again, Carolina, for this amazing PO-app. I'm going to go collect it right now. And yeah.
My question is when can I start selling these Johns? I'm trying to flip my PO-ops. Carolina Duh PO-ops gotta go for crazy money and at some point. At some point. Am I trying to flip them? Maybe. Maybe. Honestly though, if I sold a PO-op, is there actually a transactional value or some sort of
yeah, you
royalty associated with it?
I don't know about the royalty, but you can sell it.
Ah, that's unfortunate. That's quite unfortunate. Well, then there's no major benefit there. But dude, you wanna?
But they are
attendance?
historic. So
If you want to sell, that's forgery. That is true.
Catch a MightyMai PO-app from 2020, and that might worth a lot. Who knows?
We're on what, episode 70 at this point? I probably have fucking 10 PO-ops.
Yeah, I have more.
I wish I was kidding too. It's very low. Like my number, I would say it's probably like 20. I'm just really bad at collecting the PO-ops. I don't know why. This one is nice though. Very trippy dippy. No shroomies this week though, guys. No shroomies. But trust me, I've been fucking on the hunt for more. Because I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I just can't. I can't stop after my first one. I can't. I need to know more. I need to see more. I need to experience it again. He says, "Where are you at?" I'm in Pittsburgh. Where you at? Listen, I'll make a drive. Florida, way too far. Yo, let me know I got you. So listen, that let me know I got you has gotten so many people in jail. But I do feel that. I'm definitely down. I'm interested. Let me know I got you. But I mean seriously, what do you actually like? Do you sell shrooms? Is that what you're saying? No, but you know somebody who could potentially get me shrooms? That's what you're saying. Possibly. Right. It's all theoretical. In theory, does that person know? Would that person send me them in the mail? In theory.
Hey, the MightyMai is not the dark web.
No. We're just doing. This is theoretical. All hypothetical situation. Hypothetically, if you knew a friend. You plead in the fifth. All right. Well, sounds like I'm not going to get any drugs from you. That's okay. DM me. I actually will DM you, just out of curiosity. but no, they don't ship. Well, then we're probably beat. I am looking for streamers in the area though. This guy has like chocolate streamers. They were great, but then he only has like 2 at a time. It's like, dude, what am I supposed to do with that, man? 2 at a time? Fuck, bro. I'm out. But yeah, we could wrap it. Sorry, we'll just keep ripping off thoughts if we don't get us out of here now. Save everybody's brain from turning into mush.
Yeah. All right. Well, time to wrap this up then.
Right on. Play us out with that track.
Yep, sure.
Please. Pretty please.
And all right.
All right now.
What? I'm looking for the link. All right. So yeah, have a good week, everyone, and yeah, let's meet in the metaverse, and that's where it's going down. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye bye, Token Smart.
Bye-bye.
Hey, where are you going?
No,
Don't tell me you go